eating is the worst thing we do in this world. Why is it the worst thing we do? What is the reason why eating is the worst thing we do in this world? It's simple. When we eat, we eliminate another being, sometimes after a process of suffering and tribulation. So not only do we kill someone, stopping the rights of existence and enjoying life, but we also cause pain and torture to that other being. For that reason, eating is really a horrible thing. But we have the right to eat because we need it. The reason why we have the right to eat is because we need food to sustain us and to stay fit. Thus, it is good to consider three philosophies that set a series of rules that permit us to eat. These three philosophies are power, I eat you because I'm stronger; goodness, I eat you because you're harmful and useless; and civilization, I eat you because you are a minor being. Eating because of power is based on supremacy. Since I'm stronger than you, I have the right to eat and devour you, using my power so to submit your existence to my pleasures and wills. But eating because of power has a limitation, which is morals. Morals in itself is a power. You see, if we eat against that which is right, which is morals, we risk harming ourselves. An example is somebody who eats a lot of sugars and ends up being too fat. The right thing to do when you are excessively fat is not to eat, or to eat different according to a different philosophy. Thus, the major limitation to eating because of power is morals, to eat in the right way, according to circumstance, which can vary from one moment to the next. Eating because of power, as I said before, is also based on supremacy, which means that you have to discover the ways to grow in power, otherwise you risk being eaten by something that is more powerful than you. Human beings quite often use knowledge and the application of knowledge, which is technology, which permits human coordination also with other humans, which permits humans to obtain the supremacy required so to eat other creatures, other animals, other plants, which permits human beings to flourish and has permitted our society to be. Eating because of supremacy is also in a certain sense the basis of the other two forms of eating which are permitted, which includes goodness and civilization. Realize that very few beings enjoy being eaten. Very few beings that are alive seek their own demise and their death. For that reason, somebody that is subject to the threat of death might rebel. Thus, the basic philosophy of eating because of power remains valid also under the philosophy of civilization and under the philosophy of goodness. Now, eating because of goodness is maybe more acceptable to a higher being. Even if I have a power to eat you, even if you're delicious, I won't eat you because you're useful. You're useful to others, you're useful to me. I won't eat you because you work in the right way. That is goodness. Goodness not only will not eat that which is good, that which is beneficial, but will seek to eat that which is not good, that which is not beneficial, which is not only evil, but those that behave in the wrong way, and that are not useful to other beings. Thus, goodness has a limitation in the choosing of what to eat, which is not only morals, but also to verify if the being is beneficial or not beneficial. Of course, it's a form of different morals. It's not a moral morality, but it's a morality of goodness. Thus, goodness has a different set of rules from the morals that are attributed to power itself, which is totally neutral, which doesn't distinguish from good or from evil. The third way of eating is Civilization. What is civilization all about? Civilization is based on thought. Higher forms of thought are appreciated over lower forms of thought. The basis of power, of supremacy, is thought and its complexity. Not only thought, its complexity and its application, which in itself, of course, gives power. The basic philosophy of eating because of civilization is subject to one obligation. You see, you might eat a pig or you might eat a plant, but you have to seek to improve the existence of the pig or the plant. The whole idea is that higher beings, being more appreciated than lower beings, have dominance over the lower beings. And the philosophy of civilization seeks to elevate, since it's civilized, since to elevate lower beings to a higher status. So it's a constant race towards the apex of a certain degree of the triangle, where the higher beings are those that are more civilized, respect more rules, and are subject to higher, more complex forms of thinking, over the beings which have lower rules and break the rules of complex thought. Thus, thinking beings are favored over non-thinking beings. An example of this is the human civilization. Humans can eat plants, which are lower beings, which seem to have less complex thought, and animals, which once again seem to be lower beings, which seem to have less civilized, less complex thought. But humans themselves find it hard to eat other humans. Cannibalism is considered to be non-civilized and highly criticized by society. Cannibalism, however, did exist in human society. It was this Easter Island, which is a perfect example, which used to have cannibalism even in recently modern times. But it's one of the few exceptions. Eating those of the same level of civilization is criticized, even if it would be rational. It's easier to digest the meat of a human being, which is similar to ours, than it is to digest the meat of another lower being. For that reason, cannibalism should not necessarily be a wrong thing. But from a civilization point of view, from a thought point of view, you would be eating a higher being capable of complex thought, which might create more beautiful ways of thinking and more beautiful, greater results than the being that eats it. Thus, for that reason, cannibalism is criticized and condemned by the civilization philosophy. Of course, there are other philosophies which permit to eat. For example, the philosophy of love. I eat that which harms that which I love. But this is more rare. This is something much more difficult for a human being to apply. The three forms of eating that I previously enumerated are those typical of human beings. Who knows, maybe in the future we will apply other forms of thought. Goodness is rare, very rare. Man doesn't know what goodness is, but is applicable with sufficient thought, with sufficient analysis by those beings who seek to be good. There are humans which seek to be frugivarians. There are humans which go to extremes that apply the philosophies that up to now are simply not applicable or non-functional, like breatharians who simply don't want to eat at all and live on the light of the sun and their own breath. As you can see, there are some people which seek goodness in their eating. But love, for example, which is another possible philosophy, is simply one that is not applicable and not applied. Very hard for a human being. Thus, I did not include it in the list. For that reason, I did not include it in the list of three philosophies which can guide a higher form of thinking into eating. Religion, with all its limitations, for example, Hebrews eat kosher and Muslims eat halal, is a form of civilized eating. It's a form where one is permitted to eat only at certain conditions and with certain rules. Not only, there is also some element of goodness which is introduced, which is fasting. Both Hebraism and Islam, and of course Christianity, but modern Christians much less, can base themselves also on short periods of fasting. There are Muslims which have Ramadan, which is a period of non-eating and doing good, where they apply the philosophy of eating and the philosophy of eating of civilization and the philosophy of eating of goodness, and put the two philosophies together, maybe trying an attempt to apply the civilization of goodness, which can itself have civilized forms, not only limited to the basic philosophy of goodness, but creating a society which seeks to elevate itself in the name of goodness. Well, that's all for today. I hope you'll be able to profit from these lessons and base your eating, your devouring of other harmless small beings in a more adequate way. So to be a greater being yourself, showing that with complex thought you have adopted a path of greater civilization, so that you learn to harm less, or you learn to harm in the right way. Okay, please like and subscribe the video, and I'll see you the next time, hoping that you enjoy what I say and you enjoy what I teach. Subscribe for more videos like this one. Bye bye, thank you for the company, bye.